Good morning, folks. Coffee and questions time. I hear a snort. Oh, one of the boys is behind me. Okay. Here we go. All right, this one is from Rick Hurlbert. Rick says, "Hey Eric, I have a question about finishing. It sounds like you rarely stain the wood. I've pretty much stopped that as well. My question is toward whether you mainly do signs with no finish or with a finish, i.e. polyurethane. It seems like I remember seeing one of your videos saying you rarely spray them with a finish afterwards. Do you ask your customers whether or not they want it finished, or how do you handle that on a regular basis?" Okay, so let me make this clear. Rick, I finish almost all my signs. Unless specifically I get asked not to finish them, I always put a finish on them. Back in the old days, when Dad was carving out, and when I was, early days, this is the 70s, we wouldn't put a finish on sign because none of this was available in a spray can. It wasn't convenient. All we had was brush on. So, yeah, I put a finish on everything. Most of the time, I use this. This is what and you guys know that most of the time. However, not all the time. If I know that a sign is going in a real extreme situation, extreme weather situation, I will use this. But this costs about twice as much as this. So most of the time this holds up. I've had people in Michigan and Minnesota and Wisconsin where they've had this stuff on their signs, 3 or 4 coats normally, and they last for years and years and years. Never an issue with that. So as far as staining, you guys will know that sometimes when I use pine or that panel board, you can go back and watch some of my videos on staining, on an easy way to stain. I like this stain because I don't want to wipe it. I just spray a real light coat. If I'm making the signs out of pine, they have a vanilla, obviously a very light color to them. And I'll ask the customer, do they want more of a darker, a cedar color than a pine? If they do, then this is what I use in order to turn the pine a cedar color. Now, when I've got a sign that's in a really extreme situation, for instance, I know it's going to be in a hot and cold environment, and it's a big sign, especially if it's a big expensive sign, I will use this. I'll put 1 or 2 coats of this on, and then I'll put 1 or 2 coats of brush on. I'll seal it up with the spray can first, and then I'll brush the rest of it on. Generally 2 coats is as much as you need to do after 1 or 2 coats of the spray. Depends on the material, depends on how much it's soaking in. So I hope that kind of answers your question. Again, I finish 98% of my signs unless for some reason the customer wants it unfinished. Okay, so back in the old days we didn't because it wasn't convenient to do. Even when I was carving up in Oatman on site, which I haven't done for a couple of years, I would put 1 coat of this on because it dries almost immediately, especially in Arizona. So, sign carver of the day.
Can you move some of those aside?
Oh yeah, Gary Zellner made a real nice little sign here. I think it's probably about 12 by 24, something like that. Oops, I'll hold it from up here. Good job, Gary. So you can see he notched the corners, put a bevel around the sign, around the corners. Probably about a 12 by 24, 12 by 30. Looks like 1.5 and 2-inch letters. Great job, Gary. Okay, sign carver of the day, Gary. All right, you guys. That's it for today. We will see you on the next one. Have some coffee, make some sawdust. Bye.